I am a survivor of the genocide against the Tutsi that was carried out in 1994 in Rwanda. It's the genocide against the Tutsi. In that genocide, more than 1 million people were killed in just 100 days. Many people from my family were killed. Some were raped in front of me when I was just a child. I saw my dad being killed and fed to the dogs to eat. And I never even had a chance to bury him. I survived by hiding under dead bodies, in mass graves, and sometimes the only drink I had was blood mixed with water of the people who were killed in front of me. I lived like a wild animal for many months. I was hiding in the bush, but always expecting that I would be killed in next minute or day. I was only 7 years old. I knew many of the killers. Some were neighbors, others were friends. I have played football with their children. We had same culture, same language, same neighborhood. But because of hatred that was taught by the government of that time, they called us enemies and wanted to kill us all. I was made a child slave for many months, but luckily I escaped to a refugee camp. And in that refugee camp, life was miserable, with no food, and every kind of disease. The only wish we had in that time was to die and leave the misery behind, because there was no other hope. Luckily, I survived it all. But my eyes saw what no child should see, and my ears heard what no child should hear. A few months after genocide, I had to start my primary school. And for most of the day, in school, in class, I would be sitting in class and remembering the faces of the people that I had seen murdered, or remembering the voices of children and women that I have seen or heard being raped or killed. Even today, these are my nightmares. Somehow, I was able to succeed in my school, and I graduated to secondary school. Excuse me. But when I was 15, I faced one of the most testing times of my life. The classroom had been my only source of healing and hope, but I had so little money that I could no longer afford the $5 cost for transportation for my school. So I stopped going. All of the frustration of my young life came to the surface. So I started imagining ways that I too could become a killer and avenge for my family, for my dad, and for those all innocent people. I kept going back to where I saw my dad being killed, and it was outside of the hospital, near there, where a Congolese medical doctor found me and helped me back to the right path, and because of him, I went back to school. Everything changed in my mind as I realized that what was killing us Rwandans was not blood and body or people, but a hatred that resulted from an ideology that was taught for generations and generations before the genocide. After that realization, I made the most important decision of my life. I chose to forgive. I chose to forgive those people who killed my father, my relatives, and those all innocent people. I chose to forgive them. Excuse me. Now I go back in the village where my mom still lives, and I visit the people who killed, even those who killed my father. I shake hands with them. I even hug them sometimes. I lift up their children. We share food and drinks. I chose to take that painful progress, but I know the only choice I had was to put peace over revenge if I wanted peace. I have not forgiven because it's easy to forgive. I have forgiven them, not because it's easy to forgive, but because I want them and the world to learn the price of the lasting peace. I believe only good can overcome the evil, and peace should be something you give, not something you ask others to give you. By that, I want to live by example. I found Be the Peace organization. And we have a saying that I am your peace. Be the peace. We have a network of Be the Peace initiative in Rwanda, where the community of the post-genocide born student come together with genocide survivors and perpetrators. And they use different methods and approach, including arts and community activities and debates to promote everyday peace. And this is not children simply staying in class. It's about taking the peace message outside of the class and back out into their community. Families from both survivors and perpetrators have come together and they are rebuilding peace in the country. So Be the Peace initiative aims to halt intergenerational transmission of hate, and we aim to promote peace everywhere, peace with everyone.
Yes, hello. My name is Justin, and I'm from Vancouver Island University in Canada. And my question to you would be, you were talking about how you found yourself finding yourself getting kind of more violent and like more hatred towards the people that had perpetrated the genocide in Rwanda, but you had that turning point where you made the decision to forgive. I was just wondering what that turning point was that made you make your decision to finally forgive. Thank you.
I talked about when I went back to school by the help of a medical doctor. And then I was introduced to sociology, and they said, sociology was the study of interactions of people. And I said, I can become a very good killer if I know how people interact. And, as I went and I read and I was learning how people change, and I came to see how people are influenced by the environment. And I was like, so if I am trying to be a killer, am I going to be better than those? That was the question I asked myself. And I went back to visit my refuge space and everything, and I always have these conversations with the people who were killed, and I've never got any virtual voices telling me become a killer. So I said, I better teach them to be better. And that's how it came. Thanks.
First of all, I would like to thank you so much for sharing this wonderful message with us. I know it can be so painful to relive those memories, so thank you very much for that.
Thank you.
Zimbabwe is one of the countries that also succumbed to a genocide, although it's nothing compared to what happened in Rwanda. Like a couple of years ago, the Shona ethnic group tried to cleanse the Ndebele ethnic group, but the problem is the world did not see that happening. It was not documented, and the government does not want to take accountability for that. So as a result of that, it has been very difficult for people in my country to heal from that because they don't have closure. You chose to extend an olive branch and be peaceful and forgive those people, but what advice do you have for countries or communities whereby they have not received any closure and it's so difficult for them to forgive because of people that refuse to take accountability?
Now we are working with people who have committed genocide, perpetrators who are now finishing their prison sentences. Mm-hmm. And they're coming and they say, we were told to go and kill. And when you standing in front of them, you say yes, but where my work talks much more about what is your individual responsibility and your individual accountability. So before we go to a mutual responsibility and mutual accountability, are we at least accountable ourselves? Do we think about what we do? And, I can't put myself in a space of a person who committed genocide or who hate. no, I can put myself in a space of somebody who hates because I was there. But what I talk about mainly, and you know, some people have this idea of ethnicity, in Rwanda. These are like people who killed my relatives, my aunts, who raped them. They were neighbors. In Rwanda, we have one language, one culture across the whole country. So when you talk about community, it's about individuals. So in the families, in your family, what do you talk about? How do you think about a neighbor? How do we understand that those people are the same human being as we are? Yes, I understand the government, of course, they are drivers of how we act or the politics. But for me, I go from our accountability on personal and family level. And that's what I preach, that's what I say. What you tell your child is what it will happen to them and to the neighbor's child. So I can only say, work in community as a family, be example of peace as your family. Because for me, when I decided I'm going to forgive, I went back in my family. It was still fresh. It was just like 5 years after. Even today, it's still fresh. It's just 24 years. You go in your family and you say, those are also the people. And today, what could I have been if I was raised in a family of others? You might say, you're brave, but I'm not. You might be, I think, that individual responsibility and accountability, family accountability, what do we choose to raise our children or ourselves as? I think that's what I can say, but government, yes, government will tell you things, but if they say, pay tax, you pay tax. If they say, go and kill, why would you go? They won't kill you if you don't hate. That's what I can offer now.
Thank you so much.
Hi, my name's Catherine. I'm from the United States.
Yeah?
So it's from my understanding that after the genocide, the Rwandan government adopted a one identity policy after right, okay. So I was wondering, as a survivor, like what you think about that and like what it means to be Rwandan to you as opposed to identifying by your ethnic group?
Even they were used to be social categories based on cows. If you had 10 cows, you were 10 cows and more, you were Tutsi. If you had less, you were Hutu, and you could change. We intermarried. So anyway, arguably, you would say yes or not, but we didn't have any cultural differences. So today, if you come to Rwanda and you don't know, and even myself, when I stand, you would say, I'm what? You can't know who I am by my language, how I speak. You can't know. So for me, I feel, again, it's not something, identity, it's not something that is easy to just leave away. It goes with you, but again, you wonder, because it's something that people killed for and died for. So I agree, I accept. And even when I look at people here, if we were put somewhere naked, all of us, looking at each other in a room without saying anything, you would say, why would I hate somebody? Why would I think that person is better? And if we are all blind, I think we could be even much in a peaceful world. Our eyes just judge people, and we put ourselves, oh, I'm good, I'm that, I'm whatever. So I think for me, it could have been even before, no identities, but there are, of course, traces and historical legacy of what those are. But the thing is, you never identify yourself as a Hutu or a Tutsi in Rwanda, we don't have any ID card where you are named as a Tutsi or a Hutu because it doesn't have any more space. And you can't just come to me and say, you know, that we are all human beings. You might have an empathy or sympathy towards people because of their history, but you don't get, the idea is to not get anything or any privilege because of who you call yourself. So I agree, and I like it, and it has helped, it has worked. I have many, many friends whom I don't think before I go to them or I date or I chat with them, I don't think of them as Tutsi or Hutu. I just take them as Rwandans, and I think it's a great thing.
Thank you.
It's working.
Good.
I just wanted to ask, were you angry at the international community and the UN for refusing to call what was going on in Rwanda a genocide? And even though I know that you found it in yourself to forgive the others around you, you know how like Nelson Mandela forgave after he was in prison for nearly 30 years. I guess, what success have you had in influencing others in your community to also forgive? Because, you know, at an individual level, we can all see that you're very strong. But a lot of us don't have that strength to forgive if our family members had been, you know, slaughtered and murdered like that, to embrace, you know, the killers. So you found that strength, but, you know, I can assume that, you know, the young children growing up who've lost grandparents or parents would find it very difficult to find in themselves to forgive. I would, in your position, I don't think I would have had the strength, or many of us, to forgive. I think I would have lost my mind. So, you know, what success have you had in influencing your community to, you know, forgive what transpired?
There are many other people in Rwanda who have forgiven. At least I was lucky to survive with my siblings and my mom. But there are others who have been left with no child, nothing, like just themselves, and they have forgiven. So it's not me only. Many people have gone on and forgiven. So the influence I had as a person, I would ask them to put the slides on of the people, yes. So my work, my organization, Be the Peace Initiative, we work with people, and you know, these are the two people. The one you see smiling is a survivor. The one you see hugging her is she is, I think, 21-year-old. She was born after the genocide, but now she is responsible for the family. Her dad is in prison. Her mom is mentally ill, and she has I think eight siblings. She has to take care of that, and she lives close to that woman. And her parents are the ones, like her dad. Her dad is the one in prison, but he is the one who killed the family of that woman. So we go, we meet them, we chat, because now we are in a reparation time. Her family, the young lady, her family is responsible to pay back what they have damaged. And she is the oldest, and she's responsible for the family. She was the one to pay back, or to use the family properties to pay back. But that woman, survivor, we talked and we had community activity, and she came out and said, you know, I forgive you, and I don't want you to pay back anything. I forgive you from now. And what we do, we give them plants, and we bring them in the community, and they tell the stories, and they plant a tree for peace. They plant one tree in a garden, a fruit tree in a garden of the other, and vice versa, and they take care of that. And what we do, we give them cows. Cow in Rwanda is a very significant, important thing, because milk, I was telling people we shared food today, milk, if you go and, so they have one cow, they go and milk the cow today, and the milk goes to one family, and tomorrow they share milk. So that's, and for me, I want to say, what I'm working on and what I'm worried about is not what happened, and it's not what is happening, it's what can happen tomorrow. By doing this, I hope we are influencing them to stop transmitting hate, but peace. So that's how, and you know, there are examples, and it's not only in my community, but I hope the story I share happens to help other people. And there was one day I was doing a talk, and a girl stood up and said, you know, it was in US, I was planning to take my own life, but now I stop, and I'm going to forgive. So those are the things that encourage me to keep on. But otherwise, there was a time when I wanted to stop because I didn't know what I was putting myself into, starting the journey of telling the story. But these are the stories that keep me going. Back to the question of UN. I am not in the office of UN now. I don't work for UN. I've never worked for UN. I'm not in the military. I'm not in a government. And I can't just speak on behalf of UN or be angry about UN. Because, you know, what happened in Rwanda when genocide was taking place, UN members went in New York in the office, and they were discussing about whether they call it a genocide or local conflict. Bizarre. And they withdrew the UN soldiers who were in Rwanda. They told them to go home. And there are stories you can read. But I'm not angry against them. I'm just saying whoever is in the office, whether UN, whether government, whether NGOs, they should think of saving lives and not saying it's not on me, because in the end, it's on the world.
I'm aware that following the genocide, we're studying this in school currently, so I'm really intrigued by it. And I know that following a genocide, it's really difficult to achieve true justice because Rwanda holds the death penalty, and that would mean killing a lot of people. And that's why reconciliation was pushed so hard for, and that's what you were striving for, and forgiveness, which is something that's really honorable that you were able to do, and that's, so I guess my question is, I also know that it's common practice to people in Rwanda to share their stories and constantly keep the memory of the genocide in people's conscience, so history doesn't keep repeating itself like it does. So how is it hearing people's story from the genocide, and is it difficult always being reminded of what happened? And yeah.
Thank you. Difficult. As always, nothing is easy in the world, but you know, you forget what happened to you yesterday, then you were likely to do it tomorrow again. So, you know, the scars are there, wounds are still there. There are people who have not, there are people from my family that I don't know where they were killed from, who killed them, and whether they are still, there are people, we have different nightmares, and I'm like somewhere and I imagine seeing my relative coming because I've never seen or buried them. So again, it's about what do you do when you have that kind of scar? Where do you move to? Where do you move from? And who do you move with? And what do you decide to do? It will always hurt. It will always be in our heart. But what we take decision to do is what determines tomorrow. And you know, it's a tough journey, but it's possible.
I felt and saw all of your emotion and all of your feelings, not only in each of your words, but in the silence and the pauses that you took as you spoke with us today. And I thank you so much for being so raw and authentic with all of us, and just bringing your complete authentic self here with us today.
Thank you.
There is someone that I work very closely with at my university. His name's Ubu, and he's also a survivor of the Rwandan genocide. And it's a topic that he's never able to speak about. And I think a lot of what holds him back is that extreme flood of emotions that comes with like recalling these memories. And you know, with masculinity and how we expect men to handle emotions, we don't really give space for tears or, just breaking down and really feeling the things that you're feeling. So I am so grateful for you. I just have so much respect for you. I'm like gawking. But my question is about healing and the healing process initially, how that happened, and with so many men involved in this situation, how did you facilitate spaces where people could be authentic and raw and have those emotions and have a clear dialogue about what those feelings were?
When I was in school, I didn't speak for almost 3 years in school. Just kept silence. I could sit in class. In my mind, there were some things I talked about. Looking at a woman would remind me something horrible I saw, and I didn't want to speak. I didn't want to tell. I just was sitting in a class and learning, go home. And what helped me, the teacher came to me and said, "You succeed. You have good grades, but you never speak. Why?" I said I wanted to tell my story, and I didn't have space to speak. He helped me, luckily, he helped me to create a theater club of children. And it was hard in that time because a few months after genocide, children are in groups performing together. My family and siblings from both sides were not supportive, but later, when we started performing, and I was including my stories in the plays, in the poems, and dance, and expressing my things in art, art is what I live from. My consultants and work is based in the arts and social change. And I've never gone to an art school, but that's where my art background is. So art has been playing a very important role. And I'm sure there's something you talked about, men not crying. I wish we could all cry because if we don't cry, I get amazed, we can't cry, but we can kill. You can't cry, but you can abuse your wife, your girlfriend. What is that theory? Where did it come from? What is manhood in that sense? Is it violence? Is that? So for me, I think I'm not neglecting the theories of being a man. Don't quote me wrong, but I'm saying it's all about the way we start thinking. And sometimes crying doesn't heal. I don't think everybody can be healed by crying, but the chance to be open. And they might have different things. They might have different experiences, and it takes time. That people who have never spoken, but they need help. We need help. We need space. If I didn't find that way of creating creating arts and performing arts, I could have been the person who doesn't speak today. So it's all about looking at the ways and opportunities to heal. And I worked in Boston, 2016. I was working with people, and you just give them space and facilitate their conversations, and then you see things happening. So you are an artist. You said you are learning performing arts. Your role is there. But you heal through different things and opportunities. Let me tell you one thing. If I was not able to be helped to go back to school because I couldn't find less than $5, then what could I have become today? I could be the person who is killing other people. So healing, it's not only like speaking, it's also opportunities you get. It's also the information you know about what happened to you, the understanding, the education, and all the things. So we have to all come together, and every community, every leader, every part has to play their role.
Thank you so much.
Thanks.
My name is Tara. I'm a student at Columbia University studying Rwanda. Actually, I've spent quite a bit of the last year traveling in and out of Rwanda. And one of the problems that I notice is that there is a significant youth bulge in unemployment, specifically educated men. And I'm curious what your organization is doing to keep young men who are educated involved in maintaining the peace that is currently in place, because as we know, conflict transcends generations, and the children of Rwanda now are dealing with the legacies of the genocide and being raised by parents who were victims or perpetrators in the genocide. And I'm curious to hear more about your organization and how you keep youth engaged in understanding how peace is sustained.
When you talk about the opportunities that are in Rwanda, at least even today, at least people are educated. They can probably chat with you or chat with other people. My organization role in that is, I fund from all the work. I work with the British Council for the work and other consultants and other organizations. For every work I get, I fund 20%, I put it in my organization. And I've never got any funding from any organization saying, this is the money to do your work. And what I go to them and I tell them, we have a mentoring program, and it's young. I don't have many people trying to help in entrepreneurial skills, but we incite that passion. And what we believe in is, you only get work if you commit yourself to serve your community. That's what we tell them. If you commit to serve your community and you say, I want to do something for others, then you get reward. It's not easy, it's just theoretical, but it works. So my organization, I just put that because you see the people that me and another guy, there's a little child there. That child is doing his 4th year primary school. He comes from a very poor background, but then what he does, he's already a leader. He wants to go with us everywhere we go. He wants to do art. And when we see someone like that who's involved, either young or either old or either adult, we take them, we give them mentors, and we help them repaying his school fees. That's what we do.
My question is about something you said earlier. You said, I can't say it word for word, but I think it was, we are not to be given peace by others, we are to share peace with others. And I just wanted to know if you could maybe elaborate on that and see what you would say to people who believe that they should be, it's a two-way street and that people should be giving peace to them.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Whatever, or a woman did this to me, and black people are late, are there, and white people are this, and then Asian, and you're calling them names, but are you being any better than them by putting yourself in that space of hate? You're not. So and the politics, when it comes to politics or organization, it's not a passive thought. It's not a passive point of view. And after something like a genocide, you tell them to do revenge? No. I'm quoting our president, the only thing, and I agree with our president, the only thing you have, it's either hate or forgive. And whatever you choose to do will make your way great, better, or worse. So that's what we mean. That's what I mean when I say peace is what you give, not what you ask others to give you. Because if I say, okay, no, you this, you that, and I need, and you hurt me tomorrow and tomorrow and tomorrow, and I hate you back, it's not going to solve any problem. So we have to be peacemakers. We have to be peace more than just asking for peace. Just be an example. That's what I mean.
I liked your experience, and nevertheless, there's one side of the story which we normally forget. If you can go to YouTube and type 24 years of genocide against Hutu in DRC, it is there. The documentary is there. And if you do a research on your report, which was to be released, but now it is hidden, 600 pages, it shows how almost 3 million refugees who are Hutu from Rwanda died in the entire saga. So now, when we talk of peace, we must bring on board the truth of both sides, because it's not one side which really lost. Again, there is also a professor by the name of Herman and Peterson. They released a book, says that enduring lies, Rwanda genocide propaganda. So those are the new narratives which have come to challenge the former narrative on Rwanda genocide. So they bring on board two sides of the story. So when we talk about this issue, it's debatable, and we must also acknowledge the other side, because if you come to me and you put a heavy yoke on me, I have trauma. That trauma, I can carry it years and years. Yeah. For example, give an example. If you read the history of Rwanda, Burundi, DRC, somehow similar. Let me use the example of Rwanda. Kagame and other people were refugees in Uganda. After 30 years, they came back. Today...
Why did they become refugees?
It's a long story. Today, Hutus again, who the Interahamwe, we know them, some have come back, others have died, others are refugees somewhere, hiding somewhere. They might also come back after maybe 50 years. So we need to break this cycle. This cycle, the only way to break it is by speaking the truth and forgive each other without any trauma being suppressed in their hearts.
Now, let's put aside genocide in Rwanda, genocide against Tutsi in Rwanda. Let's go to Holocaust. There are people, even today, saying Holocaust has never happened, or Jews have done this and that. So you want, it's everybody's freedom of speech. You either deny, or you either tell whatever story you say. You either come to Rwanda and do research and publish whatever you want. I can't say don't tell your story, but I can't also tell your story. I tell my story. And for me, you can't just come to me and say genocide because you read a YouTube or a book by a person who was not with me, and you just saying, come on, be objective. How do I be objective? I can't be objective to you and not hurt you when I'm telling the story, and I can't even put you to the extent to understand what I went through. I'm just telling the story, and you understand and you listen and you judge it as you want. So I never discuss those political issues because it's not what brought me here. I tell my story, and for me, I would urge everyone to be careful when you put yourself into whatever academic or whatever political or objective or theoretical point of view, because you might be saying, I just give a different example. I was posting about numbers of men, of women who were killed by men last year, and people, my male friends were just asking me, oh no, tell us. No one was saying, oh, horrible, horrible. They were like, tell us more about women who kill men. You see? That's the same story. So it's the big number of women who are being killed. It's like justifiable or competitive with men who are killing women. It's not. So I would say there are definitions, theories, denial and deniers about what happened. And I would say, be careful, and I'm careful. I know there are people who lost their parents and relatives in wars or whatever they call it, in violence. I just say, give them space, they speak, and that's it. But I wouldn't say, the only genocide I know that happened is what I survived. That's the only answer I can give you. The genocide I talk about is genocide against the Tutsi. That's where I survived. Others can also tell their story on their behalf. I can't speak on their behalf. And that's the genocide I know. That's what I talk about.
My question is, after experiencing like the depths of human evil and the power of love, reconciliation and forgiveness, what has that, how has that impacted you, and in terms of your how you would see the meaning of this life?
I don't think about anything else. I know anyone can be anything. And from when I was a cute kid, vulnerable, turning to a teenage and wanting to be a killer, I know your kid can be anything depending on the opportunity they get, what they learn, the education, not schooling, the education they get, all of that I know. And when I see a racist, I've experienced racism, and when I see a racist, I just smile, because you're not the root cause of whatever you are. But can I be someone to maybe change what I'm not happy about you by being nice or by being good? So I chose to see goodness in people, and that's all. And I'm not perfect. I sometimes insult and say really weird things, and I'm a naughty boy sometimes. So, but when I find the thing, I always wish I remember every single second of my life. I wish I remember that I am a human being like any other person. And once I remember it after doing a mistake, I try to make at least confession. I try to confess. Don't get me wrong, if I haven't confessed to you because of yesterday, I might bumped into you and stepped on you, but when I remember it, I think, oh my God, I did something wrong and I shouldn't do it. And if you think about anything that you have done, you will remember it's good or bad. So let's just be humble. Let's remember every second that we are a human being and we live as like any other, and we wish to be like good as others wish to. And that's what it has taught me, because I went to the UK, I did my master's, and I lived in families I've never met before. In the genocide, there are people who were killing others, but there are also others who were hiding others. So I always choose to see the good things, goodness in humanity more than anything else, and that helps me.
I think it is not easy to forgive sometimes, but because my grandparents, they are old now, like 80 years old, and they've been through some hard times. And as for nowadays, when they are talking about like some people or those times, they're still so emotional and like sometimes even angry. So I just want to ask, do you have any words or suggestions, and how did you manage to like really forgive those people?
By you being nice to the people or kids of your age who kids of the parents who have hurt your parents, if you are nice, maybe if this screen or this screen are broken, we can repair them. But the good thing would be if we repair them, they work. How do we think about protecting the ones we will put there again so that they will not fall again? So the only thing for me is be nice, share joy, and you will be teaching the world to be nice as well. And yes, understand them. They're hurt. I'm not saying you should be blaming them. No, we are human beings, and one of the characteristic of human being is getting emotional, sad, and angry, and things. How do we control and how do we contribute to them so that they wherever trip they're going, they don't feel that sad. But you are their hope to be great, because I don't think they would say, do revenge or be bad to them. So if you are nice, you will be healing them, and they will say, our kid is nice and is not doing any harm to others, and they would be happy. That's what I can say. That's my advice, nothing more. Thanks.
Thank you. My master's that I'm doing, and my colleague is doing the bachelor's, is actually in religion, and I'm looking at religion, conflict, and peace building. So my question for you really is, what is your understanding, if any, of how religion might play a part or has played a part, either in your own personal healing or in the work that you do as a group in a community or in the wider world?
Committed genocide who killed people. And when I look at religion, I don't want to see it as a theory that is there. And any religion is a culture. And I was telling people last night, I can't put in a position to judge a culture that has been there for 1,100 years, like 100,000 years, and judge them when they're bad or they're good, they're what, when I have not even read a word, the goodness. If I go to church and I learn something from a priest, and I say, oh yeah, maybe, yes, I like it. I go, the thing is, the socially constructed words, God, Islam, Christianity, those words, if you take them away, don't put any word on any culture and say it's just a culture. We will love it. We will love them. So for me, I think any theory, any culture, any tradition that teaches people to be nice, to be nice, I completely agree. And we have differences and we have different level of understanding. But I think the way for me, I love being in a place where people share love. And I would say there are people who were inspired by their religion or by what they learned in church to save people. And there are those who didn't care. I mean, openly speaking, I'm not just being academic, I'm being real. Any religion, any tradition has goodness and has bad things. And had goodness and interpretation may make it bad. So if you choose to see the good in that religion, you see it. If you choose to see, oh yeah, they did this, and before you see a person, what would you be if you were raised and born in that tradition? What would I be, or you be, or them be? That you could be the person in that. So I always think, let's remember we're human beings and we could have been the other person. Cool.
Okay, hello, my name is Tessa and I'm from Indonesia.
Yeah.
I want to ask a simple question. What do you think the reason behind violence? Thank you.
Whatever happened, just happened. But if in the office here, in the office in the army, in the office in president office, if we were all nice and think about human beings as our human beings, we would be nice. You would say I'm naive or passive, but for me personally, conflict, if we go in abuse, sexual assault and killings and gang and what, let's be nice. And if you are nice, you will provide opportunities to whom it's needed, and you will provide love and what. So we won't be violent. So for me, individual responsibility of becoming nice is what is missing and causing troubles.
But so in terms of forgiveness and finding peace, say you're in a ongoing relationship where the violence is ongoing and you're, the person doesn't realize that they are perpetrating violence. Is finding peace and finding inner peace and forgiving involve, does that involve you getting out of a relationship and finding another place where you belong, or does that involve forgiving that person and making sacrifice? Say you're already in a position of making sacrifice, like say financial or emotional. Or, yeah.
If you don't think about what you wish to be, if you wish to be nice, then I will come back to this. Always, it's not easy, but always think about if you want to have a kid, or what is your legacy you want? How do you want them to learn? Do you want them to learn that you can be really serious and hard and do revenge? That's what they will see, and they will fight back. But if you want to show them that I'm not saying, okay, I'm here, just kill me and I'm fine. No, I'm saying the way you convey and the way you talk and the way you tell those people and the way you hide, if you are hiding and you're saying, I'm hiding, but I'm going to get a rifle and I will shoot them back when they're turning around, then you're not sorting that conflict. You are encouraging it. So think about what you want the legacy of the conflict you are in to be. Good or bad? Nice or good? If it's good, be good. If it's bad, take those measures, bad measures. That's what.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Yeah?
My name is Lawrence from Nigeria, but coming from Australia.
Yeah.
Sometimes in 1967 or 68, a young man named Bruce Murdoch had doused himself with fuel and set himself on fire and knelt in front of the statue at the United Nations headquarters with the statue reading, "Let us beat our weapons into spell sheets," that's farming materials.
Yeah.
My question is this: how is peace? How can we achieve peace in the presence of weapons proliferation, especially when you look in the African sub-region?
Yeah.
20 years after Bruce Murdoch had set himself on fire, I was born, which he was actually protesting the genocide of babies in the Biafran conflict with Nigeria. And by 2007, 2008, I've seen such conflicts coming up again, the northern part of Nigeria with the Boko Haram crisis, now coming down to the middle belt with the herdsmen and the farmers clashing. And the level of sophisticated weapons being used in these battles, you ask yourself, where are these weapons coming from, and how can we push for peace when there are weapons readily available to just ignite it?
Honestly, if you told me there's going to be a war and you give me a gun today and say, all these people have gun and they will shoot you and you only have to survive if you have a gun, I will say, you know what? I will not have that gun. I will not shoot anyone. I will teach them that they shouldn't kill me, because if I had it, they could have been the ones to be killed. So guns are there. This is what I was saying. Whatever is happening today and whatever happened is not what I'm looking at. I'm looking at what could happen tomorrow by participation of everyone in this world, in your position as a leader, in your position as a minister, or whoever you are. That's the passive answer I can give you. And the active answer I can give you is be the one to stop what you can stop. And the great peace fighters are the ones who are alive. I'm not judging those who were killed, those heroes who were killed because they were fighting. No, they are heroes. But today, I think you don't have to, I don't think you have to set yourself and ban yourself. I think there's other ways, and I wouldn't blame you if you did it and thinking it's a great way, but I think, what do you want to achieve? That's the thing.